The skills that we're taught as South Asian women are cultural conditioning, our social conditioning. Be humble, keep your head down, don't be noticed. Those are not the values, those are not the skills that you need to get ahead in corporate world. They're not.
Hi, welcome to Changing Suits. My name's Bal.
And my name's Taj.
This week, as always, I will start off with my normal introduction. This week, we've got a very special guest, and this is a very, very special guest because I shouldn't have said that, should I? Rupinder's going to think that she's not special anyway because we say it to everyone. Okay, so we wanted to explore business. What is it to be in business? What is it to actually go ahead and take the leap into the business world? So today we've got Rupinder Kaur, the founder of Asian Women Mean Business. And she'll be telling us a bit about herself, hopefully, and what she talks to her clients about. So hi, Rupinder, how are you today?
Hi, ladies. Thank you for having me on. I'm great. Absolutely delighted to be here with you both.
Thank you very much. So, Rupinder, can you tell us a bit about yourself and what got you to start off the Asian Women Mean Business?
Yeah, of course. So my background is in psychology and human resources. So I did my first degrees in psychology, and then I did my master's in HR and business, all up in the West Midlands, which is where I'm from. And then I actually started my corporate career in HR and human resources. And so I've worked for many of the big corporates, Coca-Cola, Unilever, Yum Brands, they own KFC and Pizza Hut. So lots of American companies. And around 15 years ago, when I was working in HR, it was these American companies that brought in the coaching model. So we really shifted from, HR being the personnel police, as it was called, to actually being business leaders and working with our business leaders. And we were seeing the direct impact of coaching. I loved it.
What is the difference between what you were seeing before in that case and then going to the coaching strategy?
So look, I've been in HR for 20, and I still say I'm in HR because I'm still in the HR psychology space. So I've been doing this for 20 years, and we've seen a huge
You don't look
shift.
old enough. You're kidding.
Yeah.
Every time I tell people I've been doing this for this long, I always pause because I'm actually kind of waiting for them to say, no.
Oh my God, you're 20. You're 20.
I had this realization the other day. A friend texted me and she was like, do you know, it's been like 22 years since we graduated. And honestly, I was like, what? I don't know what you're talking about because I'm still like 22. So,
my kids remind me every day how old I am. I'm like, thanks.
Isn't it wild how quickly it all goes? So the difference is before, personnel, as HR was known, was very instructive, and it was we only got involved when there was like disciplinaries or grievances, or when people needed hiring or firing. And then what we saw in America was that this coaching methodology was taking over, and coaching has come from the sports world, right? The sports industry. And so it was taken from sports into business. And what we were seeing was the impact of when you empower your business leaders with the right questions, the right methodology, the right strategy, they will make decisions that have a direct impact on the business. And what we were seeing were things like sickness rates went down. Employee engagement rates went up, motivation went up. So when we would do employee surveys, we would see employee retention so employees were staying at those organizations for longer.
What was causing that? Because I can assume what it is, but what is it that then has changed the mind shift of the employee in that case?
Yeah, so it's the accountability, the responsibility, the buy-in, We've got, and by the way, the world of work has shifted so much again since COVID. Like what COVID did for the world of work has accelerated what we thought would happen in 20 years. It's happening now. But what we saw then was this shift from people just being like a cog in a machine to actually having real empowerment and taking ownership. And once you do that with employees, once you say to them, we believe in you, we trust you, this is what the job description is saying, we know you can do that, how would you like to work? They will fly. Like
do you think it has gone the other way as well, where we've gone too far into, I think it's important to looking after everyone's well-being, but time that we're finding that the employees are taking advantage of the system as well, where they will just go on sickness because they know if they are between the policies and read right, they can take that sickness leave and just do it to a certain amount of days and then come
Ooh,
back. And
controversial, Taj. Controversial.
You know what? Look, you're always going to have people. We're human beings. We all have our own motivations, our desires. We all have our the things that incentivize us. We are always going to have people that take advantage of goodwill, take advantage of policies, take advantage of procedures, take advantage of legislation. We're always going to have that. But actually, those are they tend to be the exceptions to the rule. And if you look, like, so my passion lies in academia, lies in research. Like, I love looking at research. I
oh,
love
you have ticked Bal's boxes there. She loves research.
yeah, I
Mm.
love looking at what is the research saying, and do you know what's really interesting? So there are so many incredible organisations that offer unlimited leave. Like, you can work for these organisations, and then they don't cap. They don't say you can only take 28 days. That you have unlimited leave. And what those founders and what those organisations and those HR directors say to me is, we have to beg people to take time off. We have to
You're
remind them.
kidding.
Yeah. So
What
there's
companies are these? I might want to be working for them. Because Taj don't give me no time off from this place.
But
I'm waking up from
and
work.
also we see, we've seen this just this year, this move to 4-day working weeks, and the fact that most employees have said, actually, if we can get our work done in 4 days, we would love to have Friday off and have a long day weekend. So you're always going to have exceptions, is the point. You will always have people that will try to take advantage, but the reason why research is important is because you then get a larger flavor of actually what is really happening in the industry, and that is not the case. Like, it's not the case that people take advantage universally.
I hear what you're saying, Rupinder, but does it come to? So I actually asked this question a while ago to a group of friends, and I was like, "Who here?" And I was employed at that point, and I did say, "So who here?" It was that friends question. Who loves their job? And everyone actually turned around and said, "Yes, I love my job." I think I must have been the only one. We're like, "Bloody hell, I'm not enjoying my job as much as you guys are." But that I don't think that was 100% true, because they did go off and do their own businesses. So, in all truth, I don't know if you know the answer, because I'm just throwing this out. As a percentage in the UK, what would you estimate at the number of people that like the job that they're doing? And I know that's a really random and is a statistical question from what you're experiencing.
We did have this huge movement after COVID called the Great Resignation, where it was such a wake-up call to people, and we saw en masse, we saw resignations going in. We saw people making decisions about how they wanted to live their life, the jobs that they wanted to do. And I can't remember, there were some really good stats out, but I can't remember them. But yeah, I think when you have big life events that happen, they make you question, am I enjoying what I do? And can I just say, I'm just going to challenge a little bit about what you said about, I loved being in HR, loved it. Like,
Really? No, I'm
yeah,
joking.
I loved the organizations that I've worked with. I've loved the impact that I made. So 5 years ago, when I had my son, who's actually going to be 6 this year, so 6 years ago when I had my son, I went back into HR. I was head of HR for a human rights charity based here in London, which was all about advocacy for minority rights and human rights. It was my dream job. I was working with the most intelligent people, the most passionate, incredible CEO and deputy CEO. They were just phenomenal and making a real difference to the world. I loved that. But at the same time, I loved what I do with AWMB. I love empowering and working with South Asian women. And the reason AWMB came about was because I was 26 years old, 26, 27, I always forget. I got promoted to head of a regional head of HR role and for the Southeast. So I walked into this boardroom. It was all white men. It was in the construction infrastructure industry, all white men. I walk in as the only woman of color and below 30. Like, they were all in their 50s and 60s. And I was like, where are all the incredible women that I went to uni with? Like, where are all the phenomenal women I am not the smartest person in the room. Like, where are they all? And all of them were playing so much smaller. So I started coaching and mentoring them, because this is what I realized. I learned very quickly in the first 2 years of my corporate career the skills that we're taught as South Asian women, so our cultural conditioning, our social conditioning, all the things that we're taught as in our personal lives, and our community tells us, be humble, keep your head down, work hard, don't be noticed, don't make too much drama. Those are not the values, those are not the skills that you need to get ahead in the corporate world. They're not. You need to be able to advocate for yourself. You need to be able to make eye contact. You need to be able to hold your own. And in fact, everything that we're taught, so this reverence to the patriarchy, the reverence to the hierarchy. I often sometimes think about this story. I remember, like, so imagine me, I was 26, 27, got promoted. All of these men, they're like uncles to me. So, you know, like in our
You
community,
didn't go in there and say uncles, you did.
I didn't, but I'm telling you, the desire was there. I was like, what? And the imposter syndrome that kicked in, like all of those feelings that kicked in, the fight or flight that kicked in. So I had to give myself a really good talking to. I also had the most phenomenal mentor and sponsor in that place who advocated for me, who actually took me to a side and said, listen, we need to sit down and I need to tell you a few things.
Rupinder, can I just touch on something? And then I want to talk about the mentor, because I think that's a really interesting topic in itself. Now, in the fact that we have been taught to keep our heads down and not really promote what we're doing, 100% agree. Something actually happened yesterday which made me rethink that and wonder myself, am I doing that to my own kids? And I'll tell you what it was. So my daughter had an assembly where she did very well in it, but she didn't quite tell me what her role was going to be. And I said to her afterwards, I was like, you didn't tell me that was going to be your role. And she goes, oh, it is, you know, it's fine. So am I now doing the same thing? Are we as parents, me and my husband, doing the same thing to her, where we're like, well, don't promote yourself too much because you don't want to be looking like you're big-headed. But you can tell us, because that was what I was trying to say to her. Well, you
I
can
do
tell
the
us, we're
same.
your parents.
Yeah.
So is that something now we're passing on to the next generation? And is that the right way? Or how do I need to reparent? Tell me, Rupinder, what do we need to do?
Well, I mean, only you know what's going on in your house, and only you know the messages that you're giving your children. And also, I mean, listen, I've got a 11-year-old who's like going on to be a 14-year-old. She's so nonchalant about stuff. Like, she doesn't like tell me stuff until we we get her results and we're like, oh my god, you actually did really well here. Like, we weren't
You're so
expecting
smart.
that.
I did not know.
Yeah, we've had that conversation as well. Like, wow, actually. But so only you know that. But awareness is the first thing. It is the first thing, and it's understanding and recognizing that if we feel that we've been held back, or if we felt like, if we feel like we've had to dull our sparkle, like that absolutely happened to me. Like, it happened to me.
But is that because our parents say nazar na lag jaye, or am I saying nazar na lag jaye? Because we don't want it. We don't want it to. All of a sudden, we're going good, and if we tell everyone, it will flop down, and that's what they're scared of, and that's why they're protecting us. So, in a more of a positive way of why they're doing it, rather than they're trying to hold us back.
So I don't think any parent thinks they want to hold their child back. I think we're all products of our upbringing. And I think, so when I look back at my upbringing, like, I love my parents, I love my mum, but she's a product of her upbringing. And her upbringing was, she came to the UK at 19, got married to my dad, had an arranged marriage. They only met each other, they met each other at the airport. Like, I think he saw a photo of her. She didn't get to see a photo of him.
That's married. Romance, I call it, Rupinder. Romance.
Yeah, I know. We laugh about it so hard. And actually, they make such a great couple. Like, they were such a phenomenally good-looking younger couple. And then she moved into this extended household. I think that, like back in the old days, as everyone shares, like there were about 30, 40 of them in one household, and everyone chipped in. She went and worked at a sewing factory from the age of 21, a Punjabi sewing factory in Wolverhampton, which is where I grew up, with all of the Punjabi women from the age of 20. She had me when she was 21, so I think when she was about 23. From 23 for 40 years. Like, she was made redundant from that role only 4 years ago.
Oh my God.
I know.
And that's the only reason she retired, right?
Yeah. And
sounds like my dad. Yeah.
And she was so limited in her thinking, like so limited in what she thought was possible. And for a long time, when I was growing up as a teenager, I found it really frustrating, because I remember like she would never let me be the center of attention, and it would always be job karke baith ja. Come and sit next to me, or come and do this, or she'll say everyone else baki diyan sariyan baithiyan si tenu ki pei si, I'd be the one that was get up and
that rowdy child.
yeah, and I was always that person, always the one, right? But it was only when I realized, and I tell you what made me realize it. When I had my daughter, I think you see a big shift in your relationship with your parents when you have children, they become grandparents. When I had my daughter is going to be 12 this year. I remember this so vividly. She was only 4 or 5 months. We'd gone to Wolverhampton. She'd woken up from a nap, and my mum was changing her nappy, and I just happened to walk past the room, and mum was changing a nappy, and she was talking to her, and she was saying, "Oh, Daya, मैं तेनू doctor बनाना, जब मैं तेनू doctor बनाना, जब तू बड़ी होगी," right? And that sounds like such a cliche, but here's the thing. I walked into the room, I was laughing. I was like, Mum, tu there the man who doctor bana dindi, like me, right? Never mind her, menu doctor bana dindi. And you know what she said to me? She said, Uddo sanu kithe inni umeed si, inne supne lendi. That's what she said to me. She said I didn't dare to dream that big back then. But seeing what I've done now and my sibling has done, she's like, now I think anything is possible. We could do anything. You could do anything. Our grandchildren can do anything. That's the moment I realized, she is just a product of her upbringing, and I'm shifting her perception of what's possible by what I'm doing. And isn't that incredible? That now she sees some of the crazy stuff.
But I think, I think a leopard can change their spots, because our dad, he came from India, and he was the typical, your daughter should get married at 16, really early, get them shifted off. Oh my God, has he completely 360? And he's like, send the girls to university. He's the one that made all of the girls in our family go to uni. You should be independent. You should stand on your own 2 feet. Bal got pushed so much into politics because of him. So yeah, credit to our parents and everything that they've done for us. Do you think the generation now is going to be different to what we're doing? Because I can say with my daughter, she's a very confident little lady. I remember she went to a group session or something, and she was telling the teacher what to do, and I was like, oh my God, carry on doing it.
I love that. How old is your daughter?
She's 11.
Oh, so they're very similar ages.
Yeah,
I think so. I think if you're a conscious parent, and if you have self-awareness, and if you have unpacked some of the things that have led to our upbringing, undoubtedly, I see that. So one of the things that we do with AWMB is we host events, and our biggest event is a personal professional development event. It's called Inspire Fest, and so this is the 3rd year we're going to be doing it. And one of the things I was absolutely adamant about was that I wanted our daughters there, because I want them to be in a room where they see South Asian women who, yes, are doctors and lawyers and engineers, but also are artists and creatives and authors, and they can see all possibilities. I want our daughters to be able to see that, and I do see that. And I remember, even at last year's Inspire Fest, we had girls who are 11 and 12 standing up in a room of 150 women in this big conference room, taking the mic and sharing, and it was just brilliant. I wouldn't have had the confidence to do that as an 11-year-old. So I definitely see that, and I think we're on the cusp of a new generation that are going to break through. And also, I don't know what you guys think, but I was thinking this to myself, that for us and our generation, our parents came over, and what they saw was, our children need stability, they need to go into safe careers, they need security, they need education. That's what my parents were like, do whatever you want, but you have to go to university. So I went to university, did psychology. I didn't even know anything about university. I didn't know anything about league tables, about Russell Group universities, nothing. It was like, go to university, study. That's what I did. But I think for the next generation, when I look at my daughter now, I tell her you can do anything, you can be anything, you can pursue anything, because my parents and we haven't made all these sacrifices for our children to be pushed into these careers if that's not what they want to do. And if they want to be entrepreneurs, they can be entrepreneurs. If they want to be creatives, they can be. I think the pressure of having financial stability is getting less and less, and I think that can only be a good thing. I think that's only a good thing if our children are free to be who they want to be.
Let me come back there and say, well then, with our parents, they wanted us to have that stability. Have we then got a bit lazy in thinking, well, actually, we've got that financial stability, we can do what we want. We don't have to worry about the financial stability. So what the question is are we sort of not taking advantage of the fact that we're at the position we are? And then we're like, we'll do whatever we want. We'll do it however we want. But are we taking enough of what we learned from our parents about financial stability and our futures being financially viable?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because we can't blow it all up, can we? So, but I don't know if you guys have heard of this. There's this Nigerian influencer movement called A Soft Life, which I love, and I think it really relates to us as South Asian women as well. And it's this idea that we don't have to work as hard as our parents have done. We don't have to. We can let go of the guilt of wanting to do that. Like, I don't want to work as hard as my parents have done. I don't want to. I was a latchkey kid. My parents were out. My dad was out. Both manual labour jobs. They used to leave home at 5 a.m., come back at 7, 8 p.m. My mum used to leave at 8, come back at 6, 7. We used to let ourselves in the house, and I don't want that. I don't want that life for me. I don't want that life for my kids. And that does mean that I've made different decisions to what my parents or my in-laws have made. And it's and actually what's really interesting is I have different conversations. So with my parents, they see what I'm doing and they think it's brilliant. They're like, they think it's brilliant. They think it's brilliant that I get to have a career, generate income doing what I love. And they don't quite get it, but they just think it's...
I was just going to say that. That's what we
heard. Brilliant.
Whereas our parents, every time we go home, they're like, "So does he garde kiya?"
Well, yeah. And whereas my mother-in-law is really interesting because she's a phenomenal woman, and she says to us, I don't think you work hard enough. I think you should be working harder. I think when I was, I used to do this, this, and this, and I've had some really interesting conversations with her to say I don't want to do that. And I don't think I'm not going to feel guilty about that. And
you're talking back to your mother-in-law.
Oh yeah, we won't
go down that road though.
I've been married for 17 years, right? I've been with my husband for 19 years. Bloody hell, that's a long time. And with all relationships, there's ups and downs. I have a phenomenal relationship with my mother-in-law. Like, I can say,
and we don't celebrate that enough either.
Yeah, we don't. And I can say anything to her, and she can say anything to me, and she's brilliant. She tells me she loves me. She sends me messages. I love you. You're my this.
My god.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to talk to my mother-in-law now.
No,
excuse me. When was the last time you told me you love me?
Well,
that's not gonna happen. But that's a whole thing as well.
Yeah, she's phenomenal, and she drives me around the bend, and I tell her this. I'm like, you make me crazy, but I love you. So that's good.
Beautiful. That's an amazing relationship.
Yeah, and I love that. And I love the fact that she says, she challenges me, and she says, I used to do that, and I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. But I will do this, this, and this. And it's really important to have those boundaries in place and not be forced into doing something just because. And the conversation I have with her is to say, because sometimes she'll say, we had such a hard life, we did this, we had to do this for our kids, we've done this for you, and I've said to her, well, why would you want a hard life for me and my kids? Why would you want the same toughness that you've had? Why would you want that for me? And when she sat there and thought about it, and she said, you're right, I don't want that for you, but I would like my grandkids to have the same ethics, the work ethic. And you can still have the same work ethic without working to a grind. You can still build. My daughter has chores. She knows what she needs to do. Like, we come together as a family to do stuff.
Can you send her to my house, please?
Yeah, of course I can. She's really good. She does the laundry. She does empties the washing machine. She knows what she needs. She looks after her younger brother. Like, she knows. She holds it down. She knows what she needs to do.
Let's talk about the fact that you are the founder of Asian Women Mean Business. Now, tell me, what got you to do that and take that step of getting out of that big corporate world and going alone and doing this?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, I started coaching and mentoring South Asian women while I was still in HR, purely from a place of passion and purpose and seva, because there's not enough South Asian women in at that point. So we're talking 15 years ago. There wasn't enough South Asian women in middle management, let alone senior management, let alone the C-suite. There just wasn't. So as my career was excelling and I was learning things that I hadn't been taught. I was teaching and mentoring and coaching other women in my community to do that. And through that was this evolution of Asian women mean business, a little bit more of a structuring of what I was doing. But when I had my daughter, I decided to leave the corporate world and set up this HR consultancy and coaching business, freelance by myself. And as part of that, you go networking, you start to attend events, and I just wasn't seeing people that wasn't seeing women like me. And the networking events that I was going to, you either went to them because you wanted to get clients, so you were selling. I didn't want that. There was nothing that was giving the support, the camaraderie, the community. There was nothing that was where you could just go up to another sister and be like, this is hard, isn't it? Like, it's tough, and be honest about that. So I set up what I was seeking, and for 6 months I was seeking this. I was joining other networking groups, I was looking at stuff online. Nothing quite fit what I was looking for, and as the saying goes, sometimes you have to create what it is that you want.
What do you mean nothing fit there? Is it the fact that you wanted to see an Asian woman there? Was that your thing?
Yeah, that Asian women, support, camaraderie, honesty, transparency.
Why do you think that would have made a bigger difference than the people that you were networking with?
So when I was going to these networking events, I mean, again, it's changed so much now. It goes back to my HR career. They were all white men. You know that saying, pale, male, and stale. And when
I've not heard of that. I like that.
I like it. I'm going to use it.
Yeah, pale, male, and stale. It's
I'm loving my ex-counselor friends. I might go back and say that to them. They won't be impressed.
But you know what I'm talking about, right? These industries that are white, male, and older, and here this is a problem.
Politics, they call it.
Yeah, politics, the corporate world. Why is the corporate world 9 till 5? Or why is golf such a big like our whole infrastructure and world is geared up to white men, and as young women of color, it is bloody difficult to make it through either in the corporate world or in the entrepreneurial space.
But I've seen when there have been certain cases where Asian women have got high up and they've kind of forgotten their roots and haven't supported others, and I've seen that quite a lot. Why do you think that happens? Is it because they feel that they need to fit into the organization and not recognize that they should support others? Why do you think that is? And it happens quite often.
Yeah, it does happen often. And I think that's always really unfortunate. I think there's a couple of things. I think, do you guys remember the Goodness Gracious Me sketch with the Coopers? And
yes, loved them. So Bal might be a little bit young for that, but yeah.
Okay, so
I do remember that.
Yeah. But basically it's about assimilation and how when you've made it and you're part of the privilege and part of the infrastructure and the status quo, you want to maintain that status quo. So there's a little bit of that. I actually think a lot of it's to do with scarcity mindset. I think there's a lot of it to do with there can only be one person of color, there can only be one woman, there can only be
the token.
And if you're that person, you feel scared and you feel protective of your position. You feel that scarcity mindset of I've got to now protect where I'm at.
But okay, I'm going to come back at that then, Rupinder. Do you think that's also a problem within our community where we don't actually help other people reach the goals? And I'm going to be really honest. We've had challenges with what we're doing as our organisation, and that's me being really open. And that's really tough as an organisation and people trying to hopefully do something positive. But do you think that's a problem within our community, not outside of the community?
Oh, it's a problem everywhere. It really is. I think there's this. Have you guys heard of the tall poppy syndrome? So originally,
I don't know, but I'm learning a lot today.
Good. Every day's a school day. So it's this. It's this saying, and I think it comes from Australia, about the fact that when a poppy, the flower poppy, when they have to stay the same height, and if one gets a little bit taller, a little bit, head and shoulders above the rest, it gets cut. So it's this tall, cutting of the tall poppy syndrome, and And we also see this, like, we just see it in our community, don't we, about the pulling down, and we all have it. All of us have it. Some of us are more vocal about it. Some of us, it's very much behind closed doors. It is very, very prevalent. And I wish there's nothing I can say about how I wish that wasn't the case. That is the reality of where we're at. I think people get really, really protective about their positions. They get scared. They get insecure about that. And that can trigger behavior that isn't very nice. It can trigger that, the jealousy and the envy and the pulling down.
With Asian Women Mean Business, it sounds like you are, again, fighting against that. Would you think that is that part of the reason that you did start it as well? Because you are now trying to inspire and get people to be that poppy that stands ahead of everyone else.
So my thing has always been about is collaboration, not competition. I think there's enough for all of us. Why? And also, actually, what really riles me up is, and particularly with South Asian women. So I'm unashamedly an advocate for South Asian women, because I see what other communities are doing. Like, I have peers in the Black community. Black women are absolutely smashing it. Let me give you an example. So one of the mentors and coaches I worked with about a year and a half ago is a lady called Rachel Rogers. She's a Black woman from America. She talks all about her whole business is around we should all be millionaires, and it's all about empowering women of color and marginalized communities to take back financial wealth, to understand the games that are being played. But the example I like to give is that at the height of the pandemic in 2020, I think it was like May or June 2020, she realized that she was really close to hitting $1 million turnover in 1 month. Like, she literally was doing,
Wow.
like she was
Hello.
literally, I know. She was like, so obviously, she keeps an eye on her numbers, and I think she realized, like, holy moly, like, if I make another 150 grand, we've turned over $1 million this month in revenue. So what I think she did was so phenomenal. She reached out to her community and said, listen, this is where I'm at. I'm a Black woman. This is a pandemic. I've just realized I'm 150 grand short of turning over $1 million this month. Would you help me? Can you buy something from me? Recommend me? Consider upgrading? Like, would you get behind me? How phenomenal would it be if a Black woman at the height of this pandemic can say that she's turned over $1 million in revenue in 1 month because of her community?
I can see where this story is going, and it's not looking good for us, is it?
Well, she did it.
Yeah,
she did
looking
it.
Great for her, but
Like,
not for
she
us,
did, and
unfortunately.
it blew me away. I was like, how phenomenal is that? And I've been a part of her community. I've seen what her community is like. It is predominantly Black women. And they were like, yes, like, we're not going to let our sister fail. We're going to get behind you, which I thought was incredible.
I love that.
I need to give an example. The parallel to that is, let me give you, whenever, like, my numbers are so much smaller, and I don't talk about finances, because that would just, like,
let's get Rupinder to that million this month. Come on, everybody.
Right? But you know, like, little things. Let me give you a little example. When we've been close to hitting, like, smaller milestones with our social media following, like, I remember it so vividly with LinkedIn, for example, like, with our LinkedIn page. I remember we were nearly at 4,000 followers. It's so tiny. So I was like, oh, you know, we're 12 people away from 4,000. Would you consider following our page? People started to unfollow the page.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, isn't this interesting? But let me just throw another story in as well, because it's all the checks and balances that happen, right? So last year, I took a group of South Asian women to Tanzania. We were the first,
which was amazing.
Yeah, we were the first all South Asian female group to summit Mount Kilimanjaro. We had a film crew with us. We had to self-fund for this documentary. It has been really, really difficult. And some of what you were saying about people in the community, organizations in the community that you think are going to stand up with you, that you think are going to stand shoulder to shoulder, they ignore your messages, they play ignorant, they play all the games. But what I cannot deny is that we raised £80,000 through private self-funding 90% of that funding has come from brown women, has come from South Asian women.
That's brilliant.
Right? So
congratulations, that is fantastic.
That's nothing short of phenomenal. So this is the thing. It is this checks and balances. It's this roller coaster that comes with running your own business and running your own organization.
So hold on, what can I just ask on that point? So when you're about to hit I know they're two different examples. When you're about to hit that 4,000 mark for your social media, and then the difference with raising those funds, what happened in between that to get people to actually say, well, let's support Rupinder on this?
What changed? I don't know. I think I actually don't know what the difference was. So I can't even, and it's been a really interesting one because I've been reflecting a lot, particularly on the fundraising for the film, because I see people, and this is another thing, like I always say to people, don't be concerned about vanity metrics, don't be concerned about who's got a bigger following, who's got bigger numbers, because ultimately it's about community. And I see people who have 500,000, 600,000 followers who are doing phenomenal things, who are trying to start similar projects and are not getting the same donations, they're not getting the same gravitas, they're not getting. So it's really, really interesting in terms of when you see what's happening.
How do you feel about when someone sets up a similar project to what you're doing? Do you ever think, I've set that up already, why don't you join us? Why are you setting up another thing?
That's a yes, isn't it, Rupinder?
So it does play in your mind because you're like, we've set this up, we're here to collaborate, so why are you off setting up by yourself? I don't get it.
Yeah,
it's with us.
Yeah, it's so difficult, isn't it? Like, yeah, and so what I tend to do in that scenario is, if it is very similar, I would say, like, I remember someone set up something and she messaged me and she said, I'm the only South Asian female coach that's working with women on their confidence. And I said,
and you were like, huh?
I was like, I've been doing this.
What do I do? What do I do my whole life?
Yeah, and she was,
what have I done?
And I was just like, I've been doing this for 15 years. Like, and I just thought there's something not quite right about my messaging, or something's just a little bit. But yeah,
she's just being a bitch. It's fine. We can say it.
Actually, I mean,
now.
I don't know.
All right. We won't say that bit. I'll edit it. No, that's not true. I won't edit that bit out.
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know why people do that.
In regards to when you said earlier, the fact that you were working in HR for human rights and you loved your job, and the fact that you're doing this, one thing that I found really interesting with the journey that I've had personally is as I've grown, I've realized how important value is. And that's not the value of money, but the value of what you're doing. And I've only realized that in the corporate world, it is a big thing. You know, this is the value of our organization. When you're younger, you're like, yeah, just get on with the presentation, tell us what we're supposed to be doing. Whereas as I've grown, value has become so important, which is why I love what I'm doing now. And that's what I'm getting from you in what you're doing, trying to achieve with Asian, what you're not trying to, but have smashed with Asian women mean business. Do you think that's been an inspiration for you?
Yeah, I think you need an anchor point, don't you? You need a point that something that you hold on to that is going to get you through, because this is I mean, you guys know this is really hard. It is really tough to, and particularly navigate the field that we've just talked about. So you get, you know, people who are copying your ideas, who are trying to pull you down. There's a lot of sneaky behavior that goes on online that people don't necessarily see. You get lots of leg pulling, like, you know, and you do have to, like, you, and actually I was at that point even earlier this year where I had to deal with some stuff, and I was like, is this worth it? Is what I'm doing worth it? And
don't say that after this many years, and you've questioned it early in.
Yeah, it was awful. Like I it was such an awful experience of a group of women who were just nasty, like just really, really not very nice.
See, it is very underhanded, and it does make you get put off doing the good stuff that you're trying to do, because you're trying to help a community. And when someone's so disgusting and vile, you're like, why am I doing this? I'm investing so much of my energy,
Come on, ladies, I'm going to pull this out and say what all of us are doing is fantastic. And it's the fact that you've joined us today. Obviously, you've worked through what happened earlier this year.
Oh yeah, so that was the point. The point being, you've got to have your.
This is me putting the positive spin on it.
You've got to have the point being, you've got to have your anchor, and there's going to be points where you're going to doubt yourself. There's going to be points where other people doubt you. There's going to be points where you have, like, my thing is always like, I live my life with intention. I don't live my life by default or by reacting. I have an agenda. Like, I'm here to live life fully, deeply, and experience it, because we're only here. This is it. I'm not here to mess around. I'm not here to play small. I'm not here to diminish what I'm here to do. So you've got to be really clear about what it is that you want to do and why you're doing it. And you're going to have hate. You're going to have haters. You're going to have stuff thrown at you. So your anchor point has to be, what am I here to do? And so my anchor point is when women tell me the difference that we make, when women tell me the difference that, coming to one of my events, or, I have a paid book club. It's a personal development book club for South Asian women. I've been doing that for a year and a half. Like, these women wouldn't normally read these books. We read them together. We dissect them. And it's incredible. I have coaching programs. I do one-to-ones. I do workshops. And when women come to me and say, you've changed my life, like, this is where I was, this is what I've done, like, and that's what I'm here to do. I'm just here to challenge our world view on what's possible. And I don't believe that there's anything particularly special about me. I'm a young brown woman from inner city Wolverhampton that has done good, that's made it through, but I've done the work. And anyone can do this, but you've got to be prepared to put the work in and make it happen.
So who in your life do you go to for when you do have the down times and when you do have the up times? Your sounding board, I would say.
Yeah, so I have a really tight inner circle. I often joke, I've only got like 5 friends because my inner circle is really, really tight. And I have
it's quality, isn't it? Not quantity.
100%, like, yeah, quality and about values. And I have my moral compass is really high, and my standards are really high. Like, I can't stand wishy-washy people. Like, I don't.
So if you want to be Rupinder's friends, you have to know what you want.
Yeah, and actually, to be honest, I don't think I'm not in the market for new friends right now.
Okay, take that vacancy off.
I'm really
shutter it down, no more friends.
I'm good. I've got my inner circle. I have an incredible community of women, and so I know who has my back. I know. And I was reading Michelle Obama's recent book. It's called The Light We Carry. It's such a phenomenal book. And in there, she talks about your kitchen table. And she's like, who do you have around your kitchen table? Who is your ride or die? Who is it that you can talk about, you can offload? Who are those people? Get really clear on who those people are, because that's your inner circle. And your inner circle should be tight. So, for example, like, my inner circle is so tight that, and when I talk to them, it is no holds barred. I go for it, knowing it's never going to go anywhere. It's never going to be shared. And then that's it. We're done. Like, we're done, dusted. We move on. That's the level of, like, friendship that I hold dear to me. And yeah, so those people are people like my mum is in my inner circle. I have a cousin of mine, one of my cousin's wives is on there. I've got 3 other friends who are like soul sisters, who we just hold it down for each other. And that's it. Like, I'm really, really tight about that, because I just, you just get to know people's intentions. And I think, unfortunately, when you do have, so when people think they can take advantage of either your platform or take advantage of your goodwill, and I'm sure that's happened to you, it's happened to me, it does make you a little bit more hesitant and a little bit more reserved. And it just means that you hold on to those people a little bit closer. So it's really important to have that.
Do you know what's really interesting in regards to this whole conversation we've had? You've seen the highs, you've seen how you know, the downfalls for our community as we've grown up. You know, all of us love our parents. We know they've done an absolutely fantastic job. However, we know where the pitfalls have been, and that's something we're trying to change for the next generation. Whether we're achieving that or not is something that we need to be quite aware of. But the goals that you've set yourself, and you know, the fact that you're trying to lift other people, is an absolutely fantastic thing in itself. The sad part of this is if you hit that wall earlier this year, where you're finding that people aren't supporting you, and you have kept it close because of the same reason. That's a really sad way to look at it, though. And that sort of upset me when you did say, "Oh no,
Yeah,
this,
because
you know,
we hear about you all the time, and
like I said,
you've done so much
Taj is a
amazing
stalker
stuff.
on social media, and she has spoken about you for months. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. So she was well happy when I said, by the way, Rupinder just emailed. She's like, oh my god.
So here's the thing. You can be friendly, accommodating. If you're in my, like, I will do anything to uplift South Asian women. If I can, I'll do it. Like, and if specifically in my community, so if you're a client, if you're a member, no one will go out to bat for you the way I will go out to bat for you. And actually, the women in our community, like we see that. We see women who have started their side hustles, and we see what's possible for them. Like, I will be your biggest cheerleader. I will clear a path for you. I will connect you. I'll open my address book. Like, I'll be like, who do you need? What do you need? Or how can I help you? Who do I need to connect you to? I will do all of that. But I think it was really interesting. I keep going back to this Michelle Obama, because by the way, if you're interested in this sort of stuff, she did a Q&A with Oprah, and it's on Netflix. And it was really interesting because Oprah said to her, she said, look, you know, because Michelle Obama's famous for that quote, isn't she? When they go low, we go high.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like, and I love the fact that how she was able to hold her own against the pure hatred and vitriol that was coming towards her, and like how in public you saw her hold it down. But in this interview, you know, Oprah says to her, she's like, do you ever go low? Like, do you ever? And actually what she said was so brilliant. She said, yes, with my kitchen table, we go low. But out there in the world, I keep it classy. And I love that, because I was like, that's what
It's
I
true.
love. And that's
so true.
And I just feel like that's how we should be. Like, you know, we've got to expect and accept there's going to be people that don't like us. There's going to be people that don't like what we do. There's going to be people that are going to be triggered by what we do. And that's got nothing to do with us. It's all about them. And you know, I say that about myself. Like, for some people, they look at my stuff and they're like, she's too religious, she's too this, she's too that. And then I get other people that say she's not religious enough. Look, she's and you know, I get people I get it from all angles. It's all right.
Win.
Yeah, you can't win. So ultimately you've got to be like, okay, am I comfortable with what I'm putting out there?
Yeah.
Am I okay with this? And am I okay with the circle that I've got around me? Are they the ones that are going to pull me up? And sometimes you need those people that are like, they're going to say to you, like, you need to shut up about this now. It's getting too much. Like, let's move on. And I have, and you need that in your circle. So I have that in my circle, that I absolutely have that locked down in terms of they can tell me when I need to get a move on with stuff as well.
As we come to an end of this podcast, and it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Oh my God, I've loved talking to you guys.
You're very inspiring.
Thank you very much. I want you to tell us, I mean, we've covered a number of topics here. I mean, to be fair, I think we could have gone for another few hours, but I've got to edit this podcast.
Good luck.
That's why I don't hit 3 hours. Where do you think, as a community, namely the South Asian women, what do we need to change, and what do we need to carry on doing? What do you think?
What do we need to change? So we can only change ourselves. We can't change the other. One of the things I always just say is just pay attention. Like, notice what you notice. Pay attention to how people make you feel, how what's going on for you. And one of the things that I always talk about is notice what you're envious of. Like, if someone's success is triggering you, what is it? What is it that's that they're doing that you think that isn't possible for you. Like, everything is possible. So reach out to that person, speak to them, like, collaborate, make it happen. Rather, because a lot of the hatred, a lot of that vitriol, all of it tends to come from a place of our ego being triggered, or from a place of, we don't think this is possible for us, and therefore I'm really bitter. I'm really not happy that you've got it because I don't think it's possible for me. You know, someone actually said this to me, and I'm really good at picking up on people's energies. Like, I can tell when
Oh, I
people,
like that. I like the energy thing.
yeah, I can tell. I can tell when people have good intentions towards me. I can pick up on envy and jealousy very, very easily. I know, I can sense it. And there was another coach, another South Asian female coach, and she is older than me, more established than me. Someone actually I really looked up to in some ways.
Are we hating her, Rupinder? We can hate her.
Well,
we're not going to hate on her. We're joking.
No, but I mean, so she, she joined my membership. She was part of my community, and so we had these conversations about being part of this my community and about what I'm doing. And I knew I was just always getting this sense from her. And one day I had asked her to be a guest speaker and to involve her. And she said, look, can I have a conversation with you? I was like, yeah, let's have a conversation. She said, look, it's really difficult for me to say, but I need to be honest with you. I'm feeling lots of envy and lots of jealousy about what you've done. And
that's good that she came to you and said that, though.
Yeah, I fully rate her. She said, I see what you've done and I think it should be me, and I don't understand why it's not me.
But I
that
like
takes
the fact
a lot of backbone to.
That does.
Honestly, I loved her for it, because it takes balls to say that.
Yeah,
and she's bigging you up as well at the same time. I love that.
And it takes balls to admit it to yourself, and then to have the courage to have that conversation with the other person, I think is phenomenal. And so what I said to her was, I thought so because I felt it. What do you need from me? Like, what do you need? What do you need from me to do what I'm doing? Like, what is it that I'm doing that you want to do? How can I help you? How can we make it happen? Because I'm always going to come from a place of abundance, and I'm never going to come from a place of scarcity. So it's always really interesting. So what I would just say is, like, let's stop the scarcity. Let's stop the competition. Like, we can be so much bigger and bolder when we come together and make things happen. So let's come together and do that. And so, yeah, if someone's doing something that's triggering you, like, take that moment, sit with yourself. And by the way, it's happened to me as well. I've seen other people come into this industry and been like, oh my God, she's smashing it. Like, how is she doing that? And it's triggered my envy, it's triggered my jealousy. And I'm really in touch with how I feel. And here's what I do. I reach out to them and I say to them, I love what you're doing. Actually, you're smashing it and I feel jealous. I want to come and work with you. What do we need to?
My God, I love your conversations. If you're literally going to someone,
and they love it, and so I go and make sure I go and work with the best. I go and make sure I go and go to their events and I sit with them and I talk to them. And
one thing I love is, so Rupinder, can you summarize the things we should change and the things that we should carry on doing? And this turned into another conversation.
Sorry.
No, it's amazing.
That's what I would just say. And let's carry on having each other's back. Let's just carry on cheerleading each other. And can I just, and where you're not getting that, because this is what I've had to realize, and I'm seeing some of this happening on the online space right now. It's happening. Where we're not getting that love and support where we think we should, just know that that person is in a place of usually insecurity, hurt themselves. They're not something that you're doing is triggering them. That's causing a reaction.
So if you're the person on the other side and you're triggering someone, so you're doing well and then the other person's getting triggered by you, how do you then calm that situation down and say, look, I am actually not against you. We can collaborate.
Yeah, that's what I would say. I'd reach out to them.
I knew it. I didn't need to ask you the question.
Yeah. Listen, I'm all about, let me tell you what the biggest problem in our community is. We do not have uncomfortable conversations. We don't have the ability or the skill set to sit with discomfort, to sit with our feelings of jealousy, envy, insecurity, scarcity, fear. And not only do we not have the ability to do that, we then don't have the ability to have a conversation with the other person and say, you're doing this, it's making me feel like this. I'm not not proud of how I'm feeling, but this is how I'm feeling. We don't have the skills to do that. And what that then does, it just activates all of this jealousy and bitchiness and cattiness and the pulling down of each other and all of that. And so if we could just have the ability to have those conversations and say, look, this is how I'm feeling, this is what you're doing, this is what I'm doing. Like so much of this.
It's like nipping it in the bud, isn't it?
Yeah, so much of this drama would be non-existent. And the number of times I've had those conversations with people where I've just kind of said, like, this is what I'm doing, this is what my intention is, what's your intention? I'm okay with having really uncomfortable conversations. I will call out people, like, not very rarely will I do it publicly, but I will pick up the phone and say to people, if I hear someone's been saying something about me or AWMB or anything that I'm doing, I will pick up the phone and say to them, this is what I've heard. Can I just get clarity on what your intention is? And I tell you what, people are so shocked that I do that.
I'd be shocked at that. I'd be like, oh,
yeah, they're like, and so I have got a bit of a reputation of like, I will call you out. Like I will pick up the phone and say, this is what. And here's the other thing. I think if your intentions are pure, you'll have a sense of, like, people have a sense of loyalty towards me. That's why they back me up. That's why they support me. That's why they know what my intention is.
It's funny you should say that, because just this week we had some political drama that happened, but we've got a collaboration that's coming up soon, which we'll be talking about later on. But
I was like, which one are you talking about? I was like, yep, no, that's clicked.
But yeah, the community just didn't think it was going to happen, but we're going to reveal it very soon.
Ooh,
and it is about collaborating with people and being stronger when you work together. So what you said is so true.
The other thing I'm going to take away is have that conversation. I think that is such an important thing. Have that uncomfortable conversation. And I'm going to get off this podcast. I was like, excuse me. So this is what happened. So that this has been so helpful.
Can I just give you a tip? Let me give you a tip
to
have that conversation. Like,
go for it.
Is to lead with. So when I have those conversations, I say I'm just really curious as to what's going on with you. That's it.
I'm going to write this down. Yeah.
Lead from a place of curiosity. I'm really curious as to what's happening with you. I'm really curious as to why you said that. I'm really curious as to why you did that. And it just opens up a conversation. And let me look. I'm not an angel, and I don't always do this, because sometimes people's intention is very, very clear as well. And I don't know if you can swear on your podcast. I think I dropped the F.
Go for it. Yeah. I mean, we'll see when Apple and stuff take it off. It's fine.
But there's another. Look, as you can tell, I love reading. Like I love, like for the last 5 years, I've only read.
Which I love as well, by the way.
Oh, I love. I'm a real fast reader. I love.
Rupinder, stick to your previous story. We're going to divert to reading.
Anyway, so there's a book called. Oh my God, I've bloody forgotten the book. Sarah Knight. I can't remember what the book was called. Anyway, but the essence of the book is we only have so many F's to give. That's the essence of the book. We only have, and so you've got to decide if there is any potential conflict or if there is any potential drama. Do you actually care enough to have that conversation? That's what I would say.
It's like wasting energy, isn't it? Have you got the energy to waste? Is it worth wasting?
Yes.
Or is it not? Yeah,
no, it is. Is it worth it? Do you care enough to have that? And so there's been conversations that I've had to have because I care enough, because of other people that are involved, because of the Sangha that's involved, because of particularly where there's well-known people that are involved. I want to have that conversation with them. There's been other people that I've just thought, I actually don't give enough of a F to have this conversation. So I'm going to let this go. And that's okay as well.
Oh, I like that.
We're learning so much. I think we'll have to do another podcast.
Well,
and then do a whole coaching session.
Yeah, we should do that.
So one thing we've learned is Rupinder can't summarise. But give us your top 3 tips. We are going to do, if someone is thinking, oh God, this is a really bad idea, isn't it? Give us some top tips. No, we're not going to do it. You're not going to be able to top tip it.
I like it. I'll do it. Go on.
Top. So you are from the Asian, well, you were the founder of Asian Women Mean Business. If someone is thinking of taking that step, and is worried about whether it's their potential or whether they can do it, what are your top 3 tips?
Take action. Get out, because you've got to get out of your head. Take action. Nothing is a failure. So this is the reason why people don't take action. They're scared of failure. You haven't failed. You've just learned different ways of doing things, and then build and have a support community. Like, have a community of cheerleaders around you that have got your back, that will cheer you on. And if you don't have that in your friendship circle, you don't have that in your family circle, go out and find them. Like, go out on social media, go and join a network. There is Asian Women in Business, but there are other networks as well. Go and find your community of cheerleaders, of people that are... The biggest thing I can tell you is find people that will normalize your ambition. If you want to do something, find the people that will say, yes, this is possible. This is how you can make it happen. Because we're out there, we exist.
Perfect. Lovely summary there, Rupinder. You did do it. You did do it. Thank you so much for joining today. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And like I said, I'm going to take so much away from this conversation. And Taj is just gobsmacked that we got you onto the show.
To be honest, yeah.
Thank you very much for that.
I think you're brilliant. Thank you so much for having me on. Keep doing what you're doing. I love what you're doing. You're creating ripples in our community, and together we create the wave that makes all this possible, right? So I love it. Thank you.
That's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, changing_suits, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.